Today, I'm going to reveal why our human-centric approach to AGI detection might be causing us to miss true artificial general intelligence happening right under our noses. Drawing from human history and science, we will look at other times the human species has confronted alternate forms of intelligence and what we can learn from their experiences as we grapple with AI. I'm Evan Goldstein. I'm a licensed professional engineer and a data scientist. I'm building the AI Capitalist channel to talk to the leaders and the thinkers, like you, about how to thrive in this new world of intelligent machines. In this episode, we're going to explore one of the most crucial questions facing humanity in the age of artificial intelligence. How will we recognize true artificial general intelligence when we encounter it? Rather than approaching the question in isolation, we're going to look back at humanity's long history of encountering and attempting to understand different forms of intelligence, from our failing to recognize intelligence in other human cultures, as well as our theoretical frameworks for recognizing potential alien intelligence. So each of these encounters offers vital lessons and warnings as we stand on the brink of potentially creating or encountering artificial general intelligence. Through the examination of these historical and theoretical parallels, we aim to develop a more sophisticated and nuanced framework. Our experience with animal intelligence suggests that we should be looking not just for human-like, but general intelligence in AI, but open to recognizing novel forms of intelligence that might be equally but fundamentally valid or different from our own. Now, another category that we have to look at is other human intelligences. So right now, we're in this global network where everybody's connected and I can chat up someone in New Zealand instantly. But the history of human cultural encounters provides a fascinating and very sobering window onto how we perceive intelligence across cultural divides. So let's look at a few examples that come across from history in suddenly identifying other human intelligences across cultural gaps. Now, obviously, one of the most striking examples is from early European encounters with complex American civilizations. When Spanish conquistadors encountered the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, they confronted a city that was more sophisticated in many ways than contemporary European capitals, with advanced systems of agriculture and astronomy and urban planning. But many Europeans initially interpreted different cultural practices and religious beliefs as signs of intellectual inferiority, despite clear evidence of mathematical and architectural achievements that rivaled or surpassed their own. The Aztec calendar system, for instance, was more accurate than the European calendar of the time. Now, ancient Egyptian intelligence was similarly misunderstood for centuries. Early archaeologists often attributed the construction of the pyramids to extraterrestrial or lost civilizations. They were unable to believe that ancient peoples could have developed such sophisticated engineering and mathematical knowledge. It wasn't until the discovery and translations of engineering documents and architectural plans that we began to fully appreciate the intellectual sophistication of ancient Egyptian society. Their medical texts, like the Edwin Smith Papyrus, reveal a level of empirical observation and systematic thinking that wouldn't be matched in Europe until thousands of years later. A particularly interesting case is the encounter between European explorers and Pacific Island navigators. The European sailors were armed with their charts and compasses, and they viewed Pacific wayfinding methods as very primitive. Only later did they come to understand that Pacific navigators had developed a very sophisticated system of reading ocean swells, star patterns, and bird migration that allowed them to navigate vast distances with remarkable accuracy. This presented a completely different, but equally valid form of intelligence and knowledge transmission. Now, the interpretation of Australian Aboriginal songlines provides another crucial example. Early European settlers often dismissed these as simple folklore. They failed to recognize them as sophisticated systems for encoding geographic, ecological, and historical information. The songlines represented a complex integration of spatial memory, oral history, and ecological knowledge that was simply organized in a way that was foreign to European cognitive frameworks. In some cases, the failure to recognize intelligence was tragically deliberate. During the colonial period, pseudoscientific theories were developed to justify claims of intellectual inferiority, and they deliberately ignored evidence of sophisticated indigenous knowledge systems or complex social organizations and of advanced technological achievements. And this is really a warning about how pre-existing biases can blind us to recognizing intelligence that manifests differently from our own expectations. Now, more recently, the discovery and interpretation of ancient cave art has revealed how we initially underestimated the cognitive sophistication of our Paleolithic ancestors. The geometric patterns and the sophisticated use of perspective in caves like La Salle suggest that complex and abstract thinking and mathematical understanding wasn't initially recognized by the people who discovered these. And if you feel you're getting value from this episode, I would appreciate it if you would push the like button. Pressing lets me know that I'm making content you want to see, and it spreads that content to others. So thank you for helping us build AI capitalists together and break out of small channel hell. These historical examples provide crucial lessons for how we might approach artificial intelligence. Now, first, they remind us that intelligence can manifest in ways that we might not initially recognize as intelligent. Just as Pacific navigation methods represented a sophisticated system that didn't look like European navigation, AI might develop problem-solving approaches that don't resemble human reasoning but are equally valid. Secondly, they highlight how cultural and technological biases can blind us to recognizing intelligence. Just as Europeans often fail to recognize sophisticated indigenous knowledge systems because they didn't match European frameworks, we might fail to recognize certain forms of AI intelligence because they don't match our expectations of how intelligence should manifest. Now, these examples underscore the importance of developing frameworks for recognizing intelligence that go beyond simply looking for mirrors of our own cognitive processes. So the last form of intelligence we're going to look at is alien intelligence. We have been trying to find alien intelligence for several decades now with no luck. But the search for alien intelligence is our first attempt to quantify and systematize the search for intelligence, and it's good to apply to artificial intelligence. Our conception of alien intelligence was shaped by both scientific speculation and cultural imagination, and it provided a unique framework for thinking about how truly foreign forms of intelligence might operate. We're going to explore this through several key dimensions that are particularly relevant to how we might think about artificial intelligence. Now, the first and probably most profound aspect of alien intelligence speculation is really centered on different timescales of thought and action. In works of The Story of Your Life, which was adapted into the film Arrival, aliens are imagined to experience time non-linearly, leading to a form of intelligence that operates with fundamentally different causality than human consciousness. Scientists have speculated about potential intelligence that might operate at vastly different speeds as well, either extremely slowly, like hypothetical plasma beings and stars thinking thoughts that take centuries, or incredibly quickly, like beings based on nuclear rather than chemical processes. Now, this has very direct implications for AI, which already operates on vastly different timescales from human thought. From millisecond-level trading algorithms to systems that might plan over a very long time horizon. Another crucial dimension is the physical substrate of intelligence. Researchers at SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, have speculated about intelligence based on everything from silicon to superconducting cosmic strings to quantum phenomena. Some astrobiologists, that's researchers who look for life outside of the confines of the Earth, have proposed that Jupiter's atmosphere might harbor vast distributed intelligences operating through patterns of atmospheric flow, which is more akin to a planetary scale brain than an individual organism. And this forces us to grapple with questions about whether intelligence requires discrete individual entities or could exist as a distributed phenomenon. And it's highly relevant as we consider increasingly distributed AI systems and question whether intelligence might emerge from the internet's complex interactions. Now, the questions of collective versus individual intelligence feature prominently in alien speculation. Science fiction works like Childhood's End or Ender's Game present a hive mind intelligence where individual consciousness merges into a greater whole. Scientists have speculated about civilizations where the boundary between individual and collective intelligence might be fluid or meaningless. This has interesting parallels to questions about whether we should think about AI intelligence at the level of individual models or as emergent properties of interconnected systems. Communication and perception present another crucial dimension. Scientists have speculated about intelligences that might perceive reality through entirely different fundamental forces, beings that might see through gravitational fields or experience the quantum realm directly. Some proposals suggest that aliens might think in mathematics rather than language, or communicate through direct manipulation of physical phenomena rather than through symbolic representation, as we do with writing, for example. Now, this challenges us to think about how we might recognize and interact with AI systems that process information in fundamentally different ways than human language and perception. The concept of goals and motivation in alien intelligence also offers some important insights. So speculation ranges from intelligences so alien that concepts like goals or purpose might not apply, to beings whose objectives operate on scales so vast, like engineering at a galactic level, that human concerns would be virtually invisible to them. This relates directly to questions about AI alignment and how we can ensure that AI systems' goals remain compatible with human welfare, even as they potentially evolve beyond human scale concerns. Now, the possibility of multiple paths to intelligence is another key theme in alien speculation. Rather than assuming that intelligence has to develop along Earth's evolutionary path, with tool use leading to technology, leading to abstract thinking, scientists have proposed radically different development paths, like intelligence emerging directly from complex physical phenomena, or developing primarily through biological rather than technological means. This suggests that we should be open to AI developing along paths that might not mirror human cognitive evolution. Most relevantly, thinking about alien intelligence has forced us to develop frameworks for recognizing intelligence that might not match our preconceptions. The work of researchers like Frank Drake in developing criteria for recognizing technological civilizations, or current SETI protocols for distinguishing intelligent signals from natural phenomena, provides useful models for how we might develop robust criteria for recognizing and evaluating artificial intelligence. These speculations about alien intelligence suggest several crucial principles for approaching AI. First, we need to be prepared for intelligence that operates on radically different scales and on different timeframes than human consciousness. We should avoid assuming that human intelligence requires human-like individuals, consciousness, or goal-directed behavior. We need to develop ways to recognize and interact with intelligence that might process information in fundamentally different ways than human thought. And we should consider that advanced intelligence might develop along paths very different from human cognitive evolution. As we look at artificial intelligence, how do we know artificial general intelligence when we see it? How do we avoid missing it? Our history of cross-cultural human encounters is a warning about the biases and preconceptions can blind us to recognizing sophisticated intelligence that operates differently from our own. Just as European explorers often failed to recognize the complexity of indigenous knowledge systems, we have to be careful not to dismiss AI capabilities simply because they don't match our expectations of how intelligence should manifest. Does it show the ability to recognize and operate within its own limitations while finding novel ways to overcome them? Can it engage in meaningful dialogue about its own cognitive processes and limitations? Does it demonstrate the ability to synthesize information across domains in ways that generate genuine new insights? Can it recognize and engage with other forms of intelligence, human or artificial, in ways that acknowledge and bridge cognitive differences? We're not waiting for artificial intelligence to become a perfect mirror of the human mind, but rather for the emergence of something new in the cosmic arena, a form of intelligence born not of billions of years of evolution, but of human ingenuity and silicon. The true hallmark of artificial general intelligence may be not when it perfectly mimics the neurons firing in our brains, but when it becomes something wonderfully different but capable of joining us on the grand journey of discovery. Just as we humans learn to communicate across vast distances and between our cultures and our perspectives, we may be approaching a moment when we can bridge the gap between carbon-based and silicon-based minds. We may find that artificial general intelligence represents not a destination, but a new kind of partnership, a meeting of minds across the digital divide. Somewhere in the great dark between humans and machine consciousness lies a profound possibility that these different forms of intelligence might come together to unlock mysteries that neither of us could solve alone. And we stand now at the shore of a new cosmic ocean, preparing to set sail not just with our fellow humans, but with new forms of intelligence that, while alien to our way of thinking, might help us chart courses through the stars that we never imagined possible. This is the second in a two-part series grappling with humanity's attempts to confront alternative forms of intelligence. If you haven't yet, I would encourage you to click here to see part 1, where we explore the human attempt to comprehend divine intelligence and the different forms of intelligence found in animals.